My name is Barbara Brockett. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I was FY21, FY22 Affinity Group Director Liaison. This 10-minute training module for Affinity Group leaders covers SWE AG funding and expense policy. To support the needs of affinity groups, the SWE Board of Directors approved a policy to provide each affinity group with $500 per year for events, activities, and programs. The AG funding and expense policy explains the process and outlines the AG leader and other committee leadership responsibilities. Please review the policy, which can be accessed on the SWE AG Teamwork site. SWE Finance also has an important role in overseeing the AG budget and expense accounting. This training module will outline how to request their support when needed. After completing this training module, you will understand what expense types are allowed and disallowed by policy, the required steps and your responsibilities for pre-approval of AG funds, how the Concur system will be used for reimbursement of AG leader expenses, and where to locate the training, forms, and templates that you will need. AG leaders determine how to use their budget to achieve their goals based on their specific member community. Your AG work group lead will be a valuable resource in providing best practices and ideas. They can also help AG leaders interpret what expenses are allowed per policy. The policy provides guidelines on where AG leaders can and cannot use AG funding. It also explains where other SWE resources can be used without expending AG funds. The funding could be used for speakers at AG webinars or professional development events. The use of pro bono speakers is encouraged, and AGs can use their funding to provide pro bono speakers or panel members with a gift or gift card as a speaker honorarium. AGs can also pay professional or semi-professional speakers, which will require an invoice and processing through SWE accounts payable. We'll review that in more detail later. You can use your funding for webinars or professional development workshops. Please consider available SWE webinars and learning resources as an alternative when possible. The SWE Advanced Learning Center is an excellent resource. Some AGs host book clubs to build their community and provide professional development. Sponsoring of book purchases for AG SWE members is allowed per policy. Funds can be used to purchase or prepare flyers, posters, and handouts. Supplies can be purchased for things like name tags, materials, or event activities, or refreshments at face-to-face meetups. Remember that SWE marketing and conference resources may be available to cover these AG needs at no additional charge to the AG. Your AG workgroup lead can help you evaluate cost-effective alternatives and provide points of contact for SWE support. Some expenses are allowed in limited circumstances. Incentives for winners of challenges or giveaways at AG events can be funded if pre-approved. A $25 value limit for gift cards and gifts used for this purpose has been established by the committee. You will need to keep track of recipients' names for your expense reimbursement. Because AGs are primarily virtual groups or meet at society conferences, transportation and facility costs are generally non-applicable. But for AG-sponsored mission-related events, such as outreach events, transportation and facility costs are allowed. There are a few items that are not allowed by policy given availability of SWE supply tools and products. SWE solutions such as Google Suite account are available for online meeting needs. Consult with your AG workgroup lead if you need access to these resources. AGs that would like to obtain SWE DEI products for AG activities or programs can request direct distribution. Provide written justification to the committee chair who could facilitate board approval. Consistent with the policy for other SWE groups, Gifts and small tokens of appreciation for AG leadership or AG members are not allowed per policy. Recognition certificates or other alternatives should be used. Funds also cannot be used for AG member conference registration and travel fees. There are SWE programs designed to meet unique member needs. The AG funding process is reimbursement-based. This means that AG leaders will spend their personal funds and then be reimbursed by SWE through Concur, which is SWE's current tool for expense reimbursement. Reimbursements will be processed in 3 to 5 days once approved. Some AG leaders may not be able to use their personal funds to cover expenses. In this case, please work with your AG workgroup lead to identify another approved SWE leader to process the expenses for your AG. Concur expenses will be created upon request for AG leaders who will be processing expenses. If you will be processing expenses, contact Qadir Jabbar at SWE headquarters to have your Concur account set up. Note that AG members other than AG leaders will not be set up and are not authorized to process Concur expenses. Although Concur will be used for most AG expenses, speaker fees or other authorized professional services must be processed by an invoice. Payments must be coordinated directly with Qadir Jabbar at SWE headquarters. Now we move to step 3, planning and approving expenses. An Excel workbook is available to assist AG leaders in planning and tracking their budget. This optional tool can be downloaded from the SWE AG Teamwork site. Note that 2 or more AGs can co-sponsor and share expenses for an event or activity. Just coordinate that with your AG workgroup lead or committee focal. AG leaders are required to obtain written approval in advance of any expenditures. You can download the AG funding pre-approval form from the Teamwork site. Email your request form to your AG workgroup lead. The AG committee chair will inform you if there is another delegate, such as the committee chair-elect, who will be approving spend requests. The committee must maintain pre-approval documentation in order to support audits or support validation. After receiving written pre-approval, you can proceed. Be sure and save all your receipts and expense processing purposes. If your AG is processing expenses outside of the United States, Mexico, or Canada, they cannot be processed in Concur. Please contact Qadir Jabbar at SWE Accounts Payable for payment and processing instructions before proceeding with these expenses. Once expenses have been incurred, an expense report can be processed in Concur. The Affinity Group Expense Report Training Guide provides AG leaders with specific instructions on how to process an expense report. This training can be accessed on the SWE AG Teamwork site. A video that provides step-by-step instructions is also available at SWE Headquarter Resource Central. If you are processing a gift or gift card expenses for event giveaways or speaker honorariums, use the comment block in Concur to record the recipient's names and expense purpose. Note that by requesting reimbursement, you are certifying that you will not take an income deduction for any reimbursement funds. The AG Board Liaison is responsible for reviewing and approving all AG leader expense reports in Concur. This covers the AG leadership responsibilities for using and approving the AG funds. You are ready to take the next steps. The SWE Affinity Group funding and expense policy and the forms, worksheets, and training modules are all available on the SWE AG Teamwork site. Training videos are available at SWE Headquarters Resource Central. Your committee focal will be sending you information on approval delegations and will provide you with the links that you need. If you will be processing AG expenses for your AG, contact Gadir Jabbar to request a Concur account. Contact your AG workgroup leader if you have questions. Thank you for completing this course. Your leadership is sincerely appreciated, and we hope that the AG funding will enrich your and your members' experience this fiscal year.